I'm Kat, and today, testing extravaganza. I was asked by a friend of mine that I was helping to learn pottery, do you ever make test tiles? Because she knows that I'm just willy-nilly and I just go with whatever. And I was like, no, not really. She goes, of course you don't. And she means because, you know, that's just how I am. So that got me to thinking, I really need to do some testing, and then that got me to going with my brain the way it is. Frankenglazes. What's a Frankenglaze? So if I take a couple different glazes and put them together to see what I can do to increase my number of glazes without making more, I'm calling it a Frankenglaze. What's it called? I don't know, but it's a Frankenglaze to me. So 99% of my glazes I make myself. These are the books. This is one of them I was testing some of the things in. Mastering Cone 6 glazes. At one point it was like close to $200 because they had to reprint it. And so I got it for a lovely price of I think $36. It was well worth it. Then I used John Britt's mid-range glazes. And there's so many recipes in here that I'm never going to get through this whole book. Here's the first Amazing Glaze book, which is what got me started in all of this. So I found the Amazing Glaze book when I got my first chemicals, and I made Odyssey Clear and Chun and Spearmint and several others that first year. Then this year I decided to try some more in here. So it's like once a year thing that I'm making more glazes and more glazes. Then this is the second Amazing Glaze book. I haven't delved into it yet too much. It has a few that I really want to try, like Tickled Pink. Okay, so what's the difference between those three books and this book is that this gives you a base recipe and you get to go and decide your own coloring. Can you see? Can you see? There we go. So, yeah. So you get to make your own colorings on this. I like that. That's me. And so for this glaze test, I used my, journal, my pottery journal. And I have like different recipes in here, like Lynette's Opal and things. But this is where we're going to be starting to look. I wrote down for people that don't know, I'm very attention deficit. And so for me to even halfway manage a test is pretty amazing. So this first one I wanted to show you. I was watching YouTube looking for some glaze tests. And I went with the Aegean Blue. And I could have messed it up because partway through I was doing something else and then I forgot where I was at, but it actually was correct. I've got my test tile and test bowl. So the Aegean Blue literally is base 1 in Mastering Cone 6 glazes with some colorants. So that was surprising to me. The weird nerdy thing is I recognized that it was the base one. So this is the test tile that I did with it. And then this is the bowl that I made with it. And it reminds me of denim. So then the next one that I made is I made the high calcium semi-matte base 2. Now this was the semi-matte base 1. So the base 2, and in this I put 4% copper carbonate, 6% rutile, and 3% red iron oxide. And so you can see some of the matte, and then it's glossier where where it's gotten a lot thicker. So anyway, these are just different chemicals that I put together, and guess what? Here they are. They're glazes. It's pretty awesome. I think this is very pretty. The main ingredient in this is chemical Frit 3195, which of course I only had like 1.5 pounds of. So all my favorites, yeah, $31.95. This is my next glaze test. This is the Glossy Clear Liner on Mastering Cone 6 Glazes. I put 2% copper carb, 0.5% of cobalt carbonate. Got it a little thick, the specific gravity. The reason why it bubbled up, and I'll have some other bubbling in there, is that definitely had the specific gravity too high. This is supposed to be it. It looks more like that. I don't know that this test style goes with this, but this is what this is. That's the attention deficit. Now these you're going to be horrified at, and I knew they were going to be suspicious, and I recorded that they were going to be suspicious and they were going to run everywhere. Don't blame the glazes, blame the glazer. I only had like a small sample, and so I poured it on the pot. The pot decided to be massively absorbent, and so this is on my normal clay body. Clay bodies make a difference. I had a leftover of my Buffalo Wallow. Look at the difference. Same glaze, different clay bodies. And so this mug has its own coaster. Look at that. Thank goodness for advancer kiln shelves. So yeah, that's where I put most of this stuff, was on the advancers. So then for this one was called Burnt Sienna. It's on page 89 to 91 of the Mastering Cone 6 Glazes. And it had, I used the high calcium matte base 2 with 6% red iron oxide and 6% rutile, just so you can see. And it talks about it in there. This is going to be a new favorite glaze. I love this glaze. I'm used to the glossies, but I kind of like the mattes. Now I'm going to try to mix glossies with the mattes and see what happens. This next one, it didn't work out so well. I used, let me see, I put Al's Base, which is only 3 different ingredients, and it turns out a little bit translucent, a little milky translucent. And I used Seltzer Temuco. Whenever the Seltzer was from John Britt's book, and it crazed on my pottery, on this particular clay body. And so I was trying to figure out a way to spread it around. And so this is what happened. I used Al's base with the 3 different the 3 different ingredients, and then I put that on top. Well, that didn't work. Not something I'm going to use again. It could have been cool, but if I would have used a green or something like that, but that didn't work. So then I thought, let's see, what did I do here? Okay, so this, I decided to mix the 2 of those together. So I took Al's Base, which is basically a clear, milky clear, and then the Temuco, and then this is what I ended up with. It's a Celadon type, just a real pale Temuco. Not super fond of this coloring, but on something different it'll probably look a lot better mixed in with something else. So that one turned out a little bit better than that. The next one I did, now in Amazing Glaze there's a glaze called Purple, and it's a very expensive glaze because of lithium and the tin and the blah and all that fun stuff. So I decided to go with half Al's Base and half the purple. So this is one of my new favorites. Look at that. The cool thing is that some of these are going to be featured in a video next week, and it's my friend's Gretchen's very first pottery and her very first kiln opening. So where you see mess ups, I've dialed in the specific gravity, and you're going to see some amazing things. And she was so excited. Anyway, this cup, it just decided to crack and all that fun stuff because it had been sitting around forever. But I love this purple. And I know the nerds and everybody, the nerds are the ones hanging out here. Just so you can kind of have an idea with what I did. Look at this one. Isn't that cool? The center. You will watch my videos. You will watch them all. And then this is the test tile that went with it. So this was a layered. This was, let me see which one I had. See, I did dot, 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 dots. And then dashes after that. So this was 8, number 8. So that's Al's base. So I took, instead of mixing them together, I took and dipped. So I did Al's base as the first coat, and then I put purple on top of that as another layer. And so we had just a little bit of runnage, but look at that. A clear with purple turned into this. Isn't that cool? This did not work very well at all because my Chun that I had used, which was a part of every mess up, was way too thick. And so I've thinned it down. I've got it under control now. Cat hair everywhere. So the Chun, it was so thick that everything just kind of pulled away. It would have been cool looking. And I could refire, but that's not even worth refiring. So this in particular is half Chun, half floating blue. Bing. Does it even look like, I mean, look at the color in it. It doesn't look like Chun and floating blue. It looks, I don't know, the color is just amazing. So I'll try thinner and see how that really comes out, because this part right here, I like that. The next one is Chun as the base and floating blue as the coating. Anyway. Oh yeah, here we go. The bowl. This is the, here, let's do this. This was Chun and then floating blue. Look at that. So it was first Chun and then I dipped floating blue right on top of it. It did well. It didn't pull, didn't do anything like that. So it kind of worked okay together. Then, let me see. So I've got, okay, so my underglaze cup. I think this is it. This is Chun base with licorice on top. And licorice, Chun is in Amazing Glaze. Licorice is in John Britt's book. And normally licorice is, as you can tell, would have been very dark. And so I like that combination. It actually acted well together. Then I decided to go with, okay, so licorice is really dark. Floating blue is it has some iron oxide in it as well. So this is what I ended up with, which could have been really, really cool. Look at the detail that showed up in the texture. So what I'm going to do now is do about 1/4 of licorice in that combination, just to see how much that really turns out, because that's kind of Victorian looking to me. Okay, then I have this Celadon pinch bowl, the pinch bowl that I made. I'm not a pinch bowl person. I cannot. This is the first one I've made that didn't crack. This was a blue Celadon. It was called Odyssey in John Britt's book. And so as I was mixing it, I looked and I was tired and I thought I was following the recipe correctly. Then I realized I picked up cobalt blue instead of iron oxide, red iron oxide. So I put I did the Odyssey with 0.75 of cobalt in it on top of what the recipe was. And it was for the win. I love this. And you'll see next week on other pieces. And it behaves. just turned out wonderful. And then this is Lumos from Dante of Earth Nation. That's his recipe that I used. Okay, we're mostly there, people. We're mostly there. You've made it through. Then I want to show, where did my Lumos? Here we go. This is Lumos. This is the base of Lumos. Look at that. I didn't overdo it too much. It's just with Lumos, I guess on the base, things really run. And I'd seen on Earth Nation, he had done a Temuco Gold, and it was really, really cool looking. So I thought, well, I'll take the seltzer and see how that does. Well, that's what this did. It ran. And I'll get into some different things in just a minute, but that one, I just will have to put it on really, really thin compared to how I did put it. The next thing is, okay, so where'd my mug go? Oh, here we go. This is kind of cool. It didn't work like I wanted, but I changed up. This is red with Al's base right here. And you can see it's pretty translucent. So, and I changed it. Now I put some titanium dioxide in it and some a small amount of tin to make it look darker so you can't see through it. And so I'll have those tests in the next one. But this is floating blue with the red on top. And the only place you're going to see the red on this is right there because it's so translucent. And then this is kind of what I was going for. If you see the little pieces in there, the cool red and the blue and all that, that's what I was going for. Okay. Are we still together? So, I took, this is Lynette's Opal by itself. Just a basic glaze. And then I put licorice on top. And look at the color. Isn't that cool? How those two react together. It got a little drip. This was one of my first bowls because that's the white stoneware that I made. The next test I did was Al's Blue Dawn recipe. So, I have to tell my husband I'm almost done. I know his hand's tired. Okay, so Al's Blue Dawn recipe requires 5% of cobalt carbonate, which is $60 a pound. So, that's a lot. I had, okay, I'm going to turn these around to maybe where you can see them here. On these, I put a strip of underglaze underneath it, so you can kind of see this is kind of a milky clear as the base glaze. And then trying to see if I could save him some money and show him that he didn't quite need to have 5%, so he can still have his blue Christmas. And it was for me too. So this is 1% of cobalt carbonate, 2%, 3%, 4%, and 5%. So kind of here is where it starts getting a little muddied as far as getting closer and closer to the saturation of that. So he could probably cut it down to 2.5% instead of 5% and save a ton of money. And me too, because I really like that glaze. Okay, now I always have to take things a couple steps further. So this is Lumos that Dante had. I saw it had tin in it already, so I decided to add a little bit of chrome. So I made it a little purple. by adding just a little bit of chrome. I did 0.5 of chrome to his recipe. And if you don't know what his recipe is, he puts it all over his channel. So just look up Dante, Earth Nation, and Lumos. But anyway, just adding a little bit of chrome to it, you get a whole different look. And chrome's not the expensive one because it takes so little. And then I was looking at different whites. I want to show this. We'll look at the back of this. So this is Lynette's Opal, this is Lumos, and this is the clear base. I'm assuming you can add a little bit more Zercopax or tin to make it whiter. But look how bright white Lumos is compared to the other two. Pretty cool. Like I said, I'm a geek. But maybe somebody can watch this and benefit from knowing what the specific combinations were. And just know that you can do this with just a few chemicals in your backyard, in your garage. In my case, probably be in the backyard, but people might think I'm doing illicit things out there. But anyway, this is what multiple weeks of work has given me, and I'm pretty excited about most of it. And then, like I said, we dialed it in, and next week you're going to see ones that actually don't crawl, they're exactly where we wanted them to be. And we've got the specific gravity with Gretchen's opening next week. Okay, if you have any questions, put them below. Like, comment, share. If you're still with me, just put down there below that, hey, I watched it all the way to the end. You're not going to get a prize, but you will make me really happy. Anyway, I'll talk to you next week and show you another kiln opening. Bye.